6.5 out of 10 for the story, 11 out of 10 for the gameplay. Gameplay is amazing. Story was, compared to the first one, so like a 5 out of 10. A perfect 7 out of 10 games. That's right. Those are just some of the replies that I got when I went ahead and tweeted out this, saying, now that we're closing in on 1 year of release, what are your current thoughts on Marvel's Spider-Man 2? And boy, oh boy, did it get a really interesting discussion going. We're gonna go through your opinions and your thoughts on the game, some good, some bad, some definitely even ugly. We're gonna definitely discuss it all here today. Of course, in addition to all of that, like always, guys, if you do enjoy today's video, leave a like. That would be very, very much appreciated. And let me know down in the comment section below if you agree, disagree with the opinions that are going to be shared in today's video. And I know you're probably also wondering, hey Blitz, are you going to give us your thoughts on the game as well? Yes, I'm working on a video that will release on October 20th, which is actually the anniversary date for Marvel's Spider-Man 2's original release last year. So stay tuned for that. That's where I'm going to share my personal opinions and thoughts. But I do really like the idea of going ahead and listening to a bunch of you guys to kind of get an idea of what the community thinks of the game. And again, I really did try to do my best of gathering different opinions, both positive and negative, to try not to be biased one way or another. But let's see what you guys had to say. So first and foremost, we have this person right here saying, greatest Spider-Man game out right now. Okay, well, I'm assuming that's supposed to say out right now. Next, we have this person right here saying it's a good game, but it's not the first two. This game has many issues that a lot of people ignore and call it Game of the Year. Interesting. Do you guys agree with that opinion? Next, we have Hero Man here saying loved it, has a lot of flaws, could have been better, but I loved it. Next, we have Larry here saying if I never have to carry another person to an ambulance, probably exacerbating their injuries whilst swinging around the city, it'll be too soon. Okay, so I guess Larry did not like those rescue missions. Next, we have this person right here saying traversal is great, stealth is meh, combat is different but good, most of the side content is bad, and the story could have been handled better. Overall, a great game, but not really worth another playthrough. So an interesting kind of balanced review there. Next up, we have this person right here saying overheated. I think that's supposed to say overhated. It's a great game, but the story of the first one is way better. So I guess acknowledging that maybe the game is getting too much criticism, according to this person. However, at the same time, also acknowledging that the first Marvel Spider-Man game did in fact have a better story. Next, we have this person right here saying it feels like it needed more time in the oven. Something just felt missing. So I guess this person felt like maybe the experience did not quite feel like it was utterly complete. Maybe like a lot of sections of the game, whether it be story, gameplay, I'm not really sure what they were referring to, that just feel like they are lacking that little bit of extra polish. And this person right here definitely agrees with that sentiment, simply replying with a one-word answer saying rushed. And it seems like this person also agrees, saying that the story was a bit rushed towards the end in particular. However, the gameplay is great and would give it a 9 out of 10. Next, we have Cam here saying overall it's a great game. I think there's no question that it improved upon the first one in terms of graphics and gameplay. I also loved the Kraven plot, which is interesting, at least in my personal opinion. The only negative is how disappointing Venom was. The symbiote plot felt rushed, and Harry as Venom sucked. That is a very interesting opinion, because I definitely have a very different opinion on Kraven the Hunter in particular, but interesting to hear other people's interpretations. Next, we have Jolene here saying, honestly, I still love it. I even got the art book. I still enjoy it with my brother. Wraith will always be a pain in our side. Strongest human ever. Still love the voice acting. Interesting. First time that we hear some sort of a tip of the cap to the voice acting side of things. I do wish the story was fleshed out a bit more, but still enjoyable. So kind of an interesting pattern here developing in terms of some valid criticisms of the story for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Now, on the other hand, Rob absolutely enjoyed the experience, saying that it's a fantastic game, worth every penny of its retail price, platinum the game in 3 days, and I think that's supposed to say I'll gladly take another one of these when Insomniac is ready. Just please release before 2028 and release Wolverine before that. Hopefully that happens. I'm right there with you on that. Now, this person right here does definitely go ahead and once again say that the gameplay is definitely pretty fun, but it's dwarfed entirely by an utterly sterile and mediocre story. And here we have once again some more criticism of the story, but also some praise for the gameplay side of things, saying that gameplay wise, this is the exact evolution I hoped for with the increased speed and the web wings. Story-wise, however, Peter's descent and recovery with the symbiote is underdeveloped and feels like a radical character shift, and Kraven felt like his character took a backseat to Venom, which is interesting because we did see somebody a little earlier say that Kraven was one of the best parts of the game, so interesting how people interpreted that differently. And then interestingly enough, we have someone here who suggests that they would even want Kraven to possibly be the main villain of the entire game, and just simply save Venom for being the villain of the next game, and then Goblin for the fourth game. I don't know if the Spider-Man community could possibly have that level of patience, but that's an interesting suggestion. We have a nice and short review here saying short and flawed mess, but still a good game, an 8 out of 10. Trey once again seems to echo a very similar and recurring problem, saying actually just started replaying this game. Gameplay is just perfect. The story is my main issue. Mike here says fun but forgettable story, not even close to how great the first game was. Now, Loki, on the other hand, really lays into this game, saying that it is the single worst written superhero game ever. I honestly have to disagree with that, Loki, because I've played some really terrible superhero games. But again, you're entitled to your opinion. We have this person right here who simply says that they enjoyed it a lot. Like, a lot. All caps, a lot. Never got the hate except for maybe the length of the game. But I don't know, maybe because I'm a huge Spidey fan and it was my first PlayStation 5 game. We have another person here who does give a tip of the cap to Kraven the Hunter, saying Kraven the Hunter, Lizard, and Venom were the only good parts of the game, which is interesting because I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention a Lizard as being one of their favorite parts of this game, so that's definitely an original opinion. This person right here says cool with a rushed story, but with effective emotional and dramatic story beats. Good gameplay, but a bit of a lackluster endgame content, which is interesting because I've definitely heard that a lot about the idea that the game is seemingly lacking things to do once you complete the title. There's very little to, I guess, kind of draw you back into the experience besides just traversing the really, really beautiful city. This Spyro fan right here says a solid game all around, but definitely has its issues. I'd honestly call it one of Insomniac's weaker games, but in the same way that Dark Souls 2 is From Software's weakest game, implying that obviously the game is still of great quality, it's just that relative to the other incredible experiences that you usually expect from that studio, this definitely seems like the weaker one. On the other hand, here we have someone who gives the game a 9 out of 10. The game would have easily been a 10 out of 10 if the game was simply longer. This next review is interesting because it says the following: the gameplay is phenomenal, the graphics are very impressive, the new mechanics and voice acting are god tier. Besides that, the story was undercooked. A lot of the writing was poor, Venom was mostly a disappointment, and the story felt rushed in the second half, etc. So therefore, a 7 out of 10. And then we have another 7 out of 10 review saying great game, superb gameplay, first playthrough was fantastic, story is lackluster towards the end, and the symbiote's arc was wasted. Venom was mid and the symbiote's invasion on New York was whack. Characters are flat as usual. That's probably something that I would kind of disagree with because I don't think they've always been as flat. But the game is empty after beating it, which again is a recurring factor that we've heard over and over again, even from the people that have enjoyed the game. And therefore, this person gives it a 7 out of 10. I really like this reply because it brings up something that I did not see from very many, if any other people at all, saying gameplay-wise, it's fun, and it has a killer photo mode, which I do agree with. If you like photo mode in video games, there's literally probably maybe 1 or 2 other games that I could even think of that have as good of a photo mode as Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So I do like that reply and bringing that element up. It is very muddled as far as the story is concerned and disappointing, plus there's really not much to do or come back to once the main story is over. This person once again brings up the noticeable dips in the story quality, as well as not being a big fan of the fact that many of the villains actually die off screen. And one very common thing is definitely the fact that nobody seems to like that Adidas suit.
Bruh.
I also thought that this was an interesting review because it specifically pointed out the gadgets missing in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 when compared to Marvel's Spider-Man 1 and the Miles Morales game, where the gadgets definitely were a lot more plentiful and definitely varied up the combat a bit more than what we see in the second game. And finally, we have this person right here who has a nice little bullet point presentation saying that it is a masterful game in terms of visuals, gameplay, music, map design, voice talent, etc. The story is, however, very hit or miss. Some great character moments are oftentimes undercut by the shoddy pacing, weird editing, and sanitized storytelling. Still enjoys playing it, but not as complete of an experience as the first two games. So there you go, guys. I feel like I did a pretty good job of presenting tons of different opinions. People who said that the game is incredible, people who said that the game is terrible, and everyone that sort of lies in between. One very common thread that I feel like you can definitely pull at and agree with is that it seems like even the people that love the game agree that the story of this game is not anywhere as strong as the first two games, either Marvel's Spider-Man or Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, and agree that this story definitely takes a step back. And I guess really then it comes down to how important is that to you when you play a game like Marvel's Spider-Man 2, or I guess in general any video game as a whole. Does the story really matter to you? Are you a person that really puts gameplay above everything else, or is the story the thing that takes front and center? I think that's really what's going to kind of impact how much you like or dislike this particular game. Because I think from a gameplay standpoint, I do think that there's a lot to love here. I mean, the agility and speed with which this game moves is incredible. There's a lot of really great traversal elements to this game, some epic combat encounters as well. So I definitely think that most people agree with that being probably the best part about the game. However, then you do have this storyline that sometimes has a lot of problems about starting and going and pacing and just depth of any sort, or actually making you care about the characters in a very significant manner is definitely a very common complaint that I heard when I sent out this tweet. But of course, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below as well. I'm genuinely curious to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. I will be putting together, like I said at the opening of the video, my own video and my opinions and thoughts on the game itself. Like, what do I think a year later now that I've replayed the game 4 times in the span of a year? I will give my opinions and my thoughts, and we'll dive into all of that on October 20th. I hope you guys will check that out when it is uploaded. In the meantime, thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. See you later, alligators.